Before we begin today's podcast, we have a quick word from our sponsor. Football's right around the corner. Get in on all the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And with the NFL returning, DraftKings is giving new customers $200 in free bets instantly when they bet $1 or more on any football game. Listen up because you don't want to miss this. Head to DraftKings Sportsbook app now and place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game to receive $200 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings will still have huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. And in Week 1, DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at $1 million in top prize. Nothing adds to the excitement of watching a game quite like having a free shot at $1 million in top prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to receive $200 in free bet when you place a $1 bet on any football game and get a free shot at $1 million top prize with the first deposit. That's promo code THPN for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of $5 deposit and $1 wagers required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
And today, special guest, ex-Islander Rob Schremp, and again, co-founder and owner of 44 Vision Hockey. How are you, Rob? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on today. I look forward to it.
I know some of you guys may think, hey, what's going on? We're early today. I know we try to get it out there to you guys. Rob is living in Lafayette right now, and wanted to start off with a quick question for you, Rob. Unless Grumpy, I know he's going to have a lot of hard-hitting questions for you today. Now, I saw that you trained Marco Rossi, and again, this is something that you're still kind of teetering back and forth. I remember you said you had to technically play professional hockey during COVID in order to be able to get on the ice and everything like that and skate. Now, how many people have you come across there with 44 Vision Hockey? Again, all the links are in the description below that you've kind of had an impact on.
Yeah, through the last year, worked with around 90 players total. So it was a pretty interesting year, and it was an interesting year with what's going on in the world, right? So there wasn't much hockey being played anywhere at the lower levels, especially. So so probably about 90 players I worked with through their video stuff. Marco was one that I worked with on the ice. I did it last summer, and this summer I did it again. So it's always fun to get on the ice with players like that. And Timo Meyer was out there this summer training Benny Baumgartner onto the Swiss NLA League. So it's a lot of fun to get back and get on the ice with these high-end players.
And now a question I had, and again, because you've transitioned a little bit here from player, and again, very, very skilled player, albeit, into, more of a coaching and more of breaking down and being more analytical. Now, have you noticed that when you were a player, that was always something that you had passion and thirst for, that you always were very meticulous and nuanced with your approach to the game? Or is that something that's really taken off since you have started, providing coaching?
While I played, I watched a lot of video, my own shifts, and I watched a lot of hockey in general, watching other teams play. When I was playing the NHL, I was watching other games and stuff. And sometimes guys would be like, "You're a hockey nerd, watching hockey all the time. Let's watch something else," I just really liked it, and for me, that was studying the game. And it felt like when I watched my own shifts, really watching the details and picking up on the mistakes that I made, the mistakes that other players made on the ice that I could have taken advantage of, that sort of thing was really impactful. And I thought that was a great way for other players to see the game. Some guys just come to the rink for whatever amount of time they're at the rink, put the stick down after it's over, and they go home, and they don't, the next day they come back and that's when they think about hockey again. Or for youth hockey, if it's practice on Tuesday, don't think about it again until Thursday. The game's been, I think it's taken off, and it's really the excitement and the hunger to take hockey to a higher level is starting at a younger age nowadays. I mean, you're talking 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. They're really investing a lot of time, a lot of families are investing a lot of resources to take it serious. So I think this is a great tool. There's a lot of other resources out there. Obviously, there's private lessons that exist. There's, camps that exist. Bringing this kind of platform, working with those players' game film is something I didn't see existing. And I think it's super impactful because, what I see is, the kids are watching on YouTube Fortnite videos on how to make a kill in Fortnite, and then they go to Fortnite and they do the same. They execute that. It's no different in your hockey. You're watching your film, you're picking up the details, and then when you come into that space of a hockey rink, for me, the big thing is building picture memory, seeing the situation, and you see that in the film because, obviously, and especially with NHL film or high-level league film, the video, the cameras are in such good positions that you get such a good view of the game, like a bird's eye view of it, and you can see all the details, and then you can see what happens in that space. So I know I'm going a long story long here, but that's really where it came from. I did it when I played, and I thought it had a lot of value. And I think other people would see the advantage of doing it, and it's really it was a theory at first, and now it's the concept's been proven out.
And now let me ask you this, because I know Grump, I'm sure, has got a question. I don't want to keep asking a whole bunch. But now, do you ever see yourself deviating away a little bit, maybe to join an organization? I know you said that with COVID, it kind of stopped you, but to kind of go bit by bit, team by team, helping out organizations as an analyst.
Yeah, that's something I look forward to doing. I'm actually going to head over to Austria in the beginning of October to work with a pro team in the ice. It used to be called the EBEL, so the pro league there. I'm going to go there for about a week and work with them on their offensive stuff and their power play, to kind of be a specialist that way. And that'll be last year that's what I was supposed to be doing. I had 3 or 4 gigs lined up, and then COVID happened, so it wasn't possible to travel. Something I look forward to. I really enjoy that piece of it, and helping them see the ice in a different way, or helping them open up their mind to creativity and offense and how to do it and what the details are. So it's something I'm really passionate about. And I think now that I'm retired, it's a little bit easier. When you're playing, it's different. When you're on the bench trying to almost be a coach to your teammate, sometimes it's kind of a friction,
Yeah.
It's not that easy. But for me, it's something I was always passionate about, trying to give guys tips or try to help them see certain situations in a different way. And when you do it now, again, as a retired player, you already have that kind of respect as coach, and it's a little bit different lane you're speaking to them on instead of teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. And, your time with the Islanders, again, you were a guy, you were during some of the lean years with the Islanders. Again, you put up point. I'm sorry, Grumpy, am I boring you? I'm sorry, Grumpy.
I don't know. I have some. You keep on saying you're going to give me a chance to say something, and just bogarting the whole conversation. Everybody knows they're here to see me, not you or Rob. It's me. Everyone knows that, right? Now, I have a quick question for you, Rob. I see you wearing the flat brim cap. Are you a flat brim cap guy or a curved bill?
I grew up with a curved bill. It's new era, and these baseball caps come like this. I tried to bend these, and that they're made to go like this. They were something we got made as a company, and when you try to bend them, it looks really bad. So I know. I feel bad. I'm trying to stay young and hip. I'm trying to stay cool. So I'm going with the straight brim.
Good for you. I don't even try anymore. I mean. Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't matter what I do at this stage. I'm a little bit jealous. I see you all growing the beards as usual, and at least I'm professional. I just want to let everybody know, TJ was so nervous before this podcast. He's been wanting to talk to you for a long time, Rob. I'm just telling you. You were certainly, when he was young growing up, just a couple of years you were with the Islanders, year and a half, whatever it was. He liked you, and he used to play you in one of those little video games. Isn't that right, TJ?
A video game, Grump. Now you're starting to tread in waters that you necessarily aren't too comfortable in. Talking about video games, man.
Well, but I'm saying he's always liked you, and he was nervous today. Like he was telling me, and let me tell you something.
Oh my gosh, I'm sweating.
He was calling me early today. TJ's always late, always freaking late for every single podcast. Always late, always. Okay, today. I get a phone call 2 hours before. Hey, you ready to go? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, calm down, sunshine. All right, we'll be ready to go. Don't worry. He says that I make too much noise, and I want people who are listening today. Can you hear this? Can you hear that, TJ?
Yeah, I can hear it, Grump. It's like
he's saying it makes too much noise, me hitting the mouse on my laptop. But I just thought it's interesting. I had a couple quick questions. I looked over your career, and you played a lot of years in Europe, but every year was seemed like a different country and a different team. And, here's the thing. With the lockdown, I watched, a lot of stuff on Hulu and all this, and I saw a hockey movie where you saw guys, from one team to another team in Europe. What was that like? I mean, it sounds like it'd be fun, but I'm going to let you know, I had never done it, so I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, it was definitely unique, and it was a great opportunity to see the world. I come from a small town, upstate New York, Fulton, New York. So coming from there to be able to see the places that I got a chance to see in Switzerland, Sweden, Austria, Germany, Latvia was really unique. So, ideally that's not the path you want to take as far as changing cities every year, changing countries every year. But that's just the way my path was. Every year it's as an import, they don't really give out long-term deals. So you're kind of under the gun every single year. I did actually produce in most of the places, so I don't think I have any regrets in that regard. I thought I came up, played and performed as a professional and showed up and did what I could for the team in every situation. And it's just unfortunate some of the spots where they wanted turnover, they wanted new imports. The other thing is some of those spots had 4 import caps, so only allowed 4 imports. And again, the turnovers every year, there's guys coming out of the NHL, there's new names, there's new resumes coming for those opportunities. So that's what you're up against. So it was unique in that regard from the hockey side, but for the life side, it was amazing. I obviously get to meet my wife in Latvia. Met her here when I was playing the KHL, and we got again a chance to travel the world, see the world together. It was really cool. I enjoyed every place that I went, and it was new experiences, new friends, and new cultures. So that's, and to kind of bring it back to the platform, it's really something. When I'm on that with 44 Vision Hockey, I have a broad view of the game. I've seen it from every level. I played in every top league in the world, literally NHL, KHL, AHL, SHL in Sweden, NLA in Switzerland, DEL in Germany. You go down the ranks. So I've gotten to see a lot, and that kind of really helped me with my understanding of the game. Because even when I came over to Europe after my last year in the NHL, I had that North American mentality where I thought I was just going to come over here and tear it up and have 120 points. And I winded up that year with, I think it was 45 points in Sweden, and they were super happy about that. So it was a kind of a shock. I didn't realize how good the hockey was, how good the players were, how different it was. I just thought bigger ice, European, no disrespect to the Europeans. I just thought the bigger ice with the skill, I thought I could tear it up. But it's such a different game, different tactics. And it was really good for my overall, understanding of the game of hockey, not just North American.
Now, I'm going to set you up real quick here, Rob. Nothing negative. Would you say, and here's the thing, I've been married for, what year is this? 33 years now. And would you say that your favorite stop in your hockey career has been Latvia? The answer is yes.
Absolutely.
There you go. There you go.
Oh. Silver linings, yes. The silver linings were the best part of this stop, for sure.
I'm here to help. I'm just here to help.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Now I was listening to another podcast you'd done recently, and you talked about how you had a personal connection and you knew Rick Dudley, and you felt like that was, the general manager that you had probably the best connection with. Now, I wanted to ask a little bit about the connection, trying to make this Islander-centric that you may have had there with Garth Snow. I know that, things ended kind of tumultuously despite, good production on the ice. Just kind of wanted to ask a little bit about the relationship you had with Garth Snow. I know Rick Dudley, best relationship you did have, though.
Yeah, no, I had a really good relationship with Garth. I was in his office a lot talking, just for conversations, just to talk hockey and different things going on around the league and different players. And he was a great guy to go in and talk to and have, that open line of communication. So, my time in Long Island was actually kind of confusing, but confusing that I had to be put on waivers, but it's a game and they say it's a numbers game, and that's just the truth of it. At that time, Josh Bailey was a young guy coming up, and you got to find space for the players in your draft picks. So that's kind of where I got put on waivers. I understood it very well. Like that, he was a draft pick. I was a waiver pickup. The value for the organization is in their draft picks. So it was just something where they needed space, and I was the easiest guy to put on the block. But I was very appreciative of the New York Islanders and Garth Snow. They gave me my chance. They picked me up off of Edmonton when I got put on waivers there. So I have nothing negative at all to say about that. I understood it. It was confusing because I thought I was playing well, especially in kind of the role I was slotted was mostly a third line guy and maybe second line PP. And Blake Holm and I had some pretty good chemistry there. I really enjoyed it. And it's kind of like, man, if we got a little bit more time together, I felt like we could have put up some good numbers. We did okay, as far as, the first year, even when I got picked up, we had some really good success once we found that line chemistry with Blake and John Sim. And then again, the second year coming in, I'm really excited. I got injured in the beginning of the year, which was a setback. And then when I came back, the team was kind of in turmoil. Scott Gordon got let go. The team was losing a lot of games. So it was kind of that turmoil. And it's kind of I don't want to say a wasted season or a lost season, but at that point we lost we had a 14-game losing streak or something like that. We were so far out of it. At that point, the organization is going to swing to development, right? And I'm not a guy that they're looking to develop. They're looking to develop their first round draft pick. So that's the story of it, and that's unfortunately the way the game goes. But I was appreciative of my time there, and I really enjoyed it. Great group of guys. Love the locker room. The locker room was the best. Dougie Waite, so many good guys. Ricky DiPietro, Andy Sutton. You go down the list. Everybody in the locker room were great guys. Kyle Oposo. The names just keep popping in my head. So. Really enjoyed it. I wish it was lasted longer, but that's pro hockey.
And now let me ask you this. I know those are during some of the lean years. And again, I've played not hockey, different sports, but when you're a team that's struggling, I know that sometimes the wear and tear of the year can really take a toll on you. Now, how easy, for you, were you a guy where, hey, every single day you can go on to work and it felt great. Hey, I'm 100% motivated. I don't really have to do anything different to make sure I'm bringing my 100% every single day to the office? Or was it, kind of a little bit of a struggle to say, hey, we're a team that's struggling mightily. What type of ways can I do to try to rev up my mental engine to be 100% here?
Yeah, I broke my back in training camp. I fractured my back. I got cross-checked by Brian Rolston, and I was on I was so hungry to get back. They said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks. And I don't want to get too graphic, but I had a nerve that was going down into my groin, into my parts, and it felt like somebody was kicking me there all day long for 2.5 weeks. So at 2.5 weeks, just past that point, it let go finally. And I was like, oh my God, I want to play. I want to right to Garth's office. I was like, I want to play. He's like, relax, Schremp, you got to recover. I'm like, I want to play. So I did that to him for about a week. So 3.5 weeks into that 6-week recovery, I got to, finally he made me go test it out on the ice. And then I went down to Bridgeport. He's like, okay, if you want to play, you got to go down to Bridgeport and prove to me that you're ready. And so I guess long story long, answering your question, but I was really hungry to play. And I care about winning and I want to win more than anything. At that point, for me personally, I was excited to be in the NHL, excited to prove myself. And I probably pretty, I don't know what the right word is, but I was a little bit over my head. I thought by getting back, I could help save the team sort of thing. That's how I was eager. I want to help the boys. I want to help the team. I know I can do some stuff here. Probably rushed back a little bit too early. But for me, the whole time, even with the turmoil, it sucked because this is my chance to get in the show and play and be a regular. And at the same time, this stuff's going on, and I know I can read, the writing on the wall pretty good. I'm not, again, a staple on the team. I'm not a draft pick to the organization. So when things are going like this, I'm an easy kind of shuffle.
Let me ask you this. I know you had mentioned it and you said you understood. Does it not bother you a little bit? It would bother me. And again, this is just me personally. You might be a way better person than I am. That just because somebody is drafted by a current regime, that even though I'm performing, I'm going to get passed over, even though I know I'm the better player out there on the ice. That would bug me a little bit.
Particularly when it's Josh Bailey.
Bales is a great player. I mean, he's a great kid, good effort, great attitude, great, everything. His family's unbelievable people. So he was one of my closest friends when I was there too. So that's another piece of it. Yeah, it's like I know I got kind of shipped out, but like same time I'm pulling. I love that guy. He's a great kid. He's a couple years younger than me, but great guy. It's just the nature of the beast. It's not his fault. So. Well, no. He's fortunate to be drafted by him. I wish my team that drafted me had the same, motive to put me in and play me like that. It didn't go that way for me. But, it's tough to swallow because I didn't have a regret. I did what I could for the team. I showed up, got back as fast as I could through injury instead of milking it. I was proud of what I, produced there in Long Island. I wish it was longer, but that's just the way she goes.
And it's unfortunate too, right? You were the best shootout king in Islanders history until Franz Nielsen happened to take his hold. I mean, I tell you now, you see, and I know Franz, he had, the same old move. Your shootouts, I mean, they're creative, and it's unfortunate Franz Nielsen came around. Unbelievable shootout guy too, Rob.
Thank you. Yeah, that was something that helped me stay in the lineup, to be honest with you, in the beginning there. I got picked up off waivers, played 4 or 5 games, like fourth line minutes. Really didn't play well. I played on the wing. I grew up playing a center, my whole career. So I had to sit out and wait for 20 plus games until someone got injured to get in the lineup as a healthy scratch. And when I finally got in, it was like the second game in, I got a shootout against Boston. And then I kept rolling from there. I think I had a really good stats for shootouts. So the power play and the shootout really helped me stay in the lineup. But it was a lot of pressure. I never was a shootout guy in junior. I had one shootout in my whole junior career. I never did shootouts, and I'm not a breakaway speed guy. I'm sure you watched my game. I wasn't like a Grabner getting 3-4 breakaways a game. So that really grew out of just kind of rising to the challenge. They put me in because I had good hands and I executed. So I'll be honest, the first couple of them I was crapping my pants. I was nervous. I don't usually do breakaways. So it kind of something I grew into, and then I realized the value of it, and that could help me stay in the lineup, because at that point we were going to a lot of overtime and shootouts. So they needed that asset.
Absolutely.
I think that I think you were a little bit before your time. And what I mean by that is the game has kind of changed in the last decade and a half, I want to say, where certainly the physicality is nowhere near when I was a kid growing up. Let me just tell you, the physicality is nothing like it used to be. And a skill guy such as yourself, I think if you were playing today, and of course, if you were like 15 years younger, I'm not saying now at your age you're going to come in and do that, but let's say you were younger, I think you would have maybe had a longer stay in the NHL just by the way the game is playing. Just being a skill guy, I think there's certainly more place in the league now than there used to be. Will you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I get asked that question quite a bit. And my honest answer is I showed what I could do in today's game the year after they changed the rules in the lockout of 2005, I believe it was. They changed the rules. There was no more of that stuff going on. Even at the junior level, there was no 2-line passes. In that year, David Bowl and myself and Dylan Hunter, we put up some great numbers. So me personally, I put up 145 points that year. I showed what I could do with that new set of rules and the new way the game played. It just took probably 10 years for the NHL to evolve to that. You think right around 2015, 16 is really where we start to see these young studs performing, coming in. You got young captains like Taves and Crosby, and these guys starting to lead their teams at younger ages. The transition started happening probably 5 years later, 2010 and 2015, I think really is where our game changed to much more skill, much more, speed, and totally different game than what you're talking about. I know that for sure. No more hooking, and, there's no more pinning a guy in the corner for 5 seconds while the play's going the other way, those sort of things. But so I think that's what I felt like when I get asked that or, brought up. It's like I thought I showed that in 2005, 2006, what I could do in that new era. But it took some time for the game to go that way.
Now, you mentioned Dave Bolin, and I know you played with Andrew Ladd as well. Your short stay in Atlanta. And these guys go on to make really big free agent contract signings that didn't pan out. So are you going to attribute their success in getting, Bolin with Florida and Ladd with us, the Islanders, just by being around you, they were able to get these big contracts, and then all of a sudden you're not there anymore and they bust out? I mean, are you going to make that comparison? I will for you.
I'm the buffer. I'm the buffer to the big deal, I guess. Yeah.
That's it. See? Yes.
Yeah. No, they're both great guys. And Ladder was awesome down in Atlanta. Great leader, great dude. I met Ladder, Laddie, whatever you want to call him, in 2003, 2004. They did the top prospects game up in the CHL, and Andrew and I were on the same line with Blake Como actually at that top prospects game. We won the game 6-5, and all three of us had 5 points. So we clicked pretty well, but then even though when I went to Atlanta, I never got a chance to play with them, unfortunately. Yeah.
I mean, I know you're short. Your stay there was short.
Yeah.
And I predict Atlanta will never get another NHL team. You bust out twice. You're not going to get a third strike, I don't think.
Yeah. No, it was tough. There was not much fan base there. So, it's obviously for the financial side of it from a team point of view, but even from the player side of it, with no fans, there's no atmosphere. You're not playing NHL hockey. You know what I mean? It feels like playing junior B.
And I remember you said, hey, when you were with the London Knights, man, they were packing the arena, 10,000 plus or 10,000 fans in there. And I know you talked about your time in Atlanta. Man, they could not fill the stands. How weird was that? Did you ever have moments when you were in Atlanta thinking and even the Coliseum, right? I mean, the fans weren't coming out in droves during those dark time periods. And you thought to yourself, when I was in juniors, we had a much more loving fan base, a much more enthusiastic fan base. And now here I am, I'm bouncing around. I'm with the Islanders, and here I am with Atlanta. And they can't put anybody in the stands. Did you find that ever odd, or you ever kind of like recollect on those time periods?
Yeah, it was almost frustrating too, because to be honest with you, I like Showtime. I like to perform for fans, and I love that piece of it in London, to perform for those fans, playing at home, performing for them. It's obviously about the crest on the front. We know that, you got to say that, and that's what we play for. But at the end of the day, if we don't play for the fans or entertain the fans, you don't have fans. And that was, proof in the attendance where we were with, in the island, and then also in Atlanta. But that piece of it as an individual, to go out there and want to put a show on for fans, I think it's huge. In London, it was amazing. It gave such a great feeling. Even you go into the autograph signing stuff during the week, and people are like, I can't wait for the game Friday. You guys are going to kill Kitchener or whoever you're going to play. And there's that, kind of momentum going into these games, and people, bringing that atmosphere. It's special, and it makes you feel special. It makes you feel just a little deeper as an athlete, deeper as a player, to come to the rink and really, again, want to put a show on for the fans. Not get whooped 5-1 at home and have 10 shots or 12 shots on net. It's not fun as a player, but also you can imagine why the fans aren't coming.
Yeah. So now I'm going to draw another comparison here. These teams, even when you're in Edmonton, right? I think it was kind of during the lean times there. The Islanders, lean times, not a whole lot of fans. Atlanta, not a whole lot of fans. Do you think if you had played more, there would have been more fans in the stands if you would have had that chance, just seeing how it was in London?
There would have been more Shrimp fans for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you nailed it on the head. That was my career. I guess I'm a guy of bad timing, That's just when I came from London, where we were a powerhouse team. And then through the course of my pro career, to seem like landing in tough spots at tough times, especially two teams with the Oilers and the Islanders with such rich history and winning ways. And the times that I got to play with them, they were, kind of lower at the bottom of the leagues. So frustrating. I don't look into it too much anymore. It used to bug me quite a bit when I was sitting in the darkness in Europe on my own. My buddies are all back playing in the show, but those days are over. It is what it is. Everybody has their path. Everything happens for a reason. But, you just think a little bit like, man, I wish it was different at those times with those teams. It would have been great to play in front of a Pat Cowley and, Atlanta. It would have been nice if they stuck around. And GM that liked me since I was a kid, 15, 16 years old, would have given me a job for, not saying usually would have given it to me. I would have earned it, but definitely would have had an upper hand and had that management that was pulling for me, kind of like, like we talked about Josh a little bit earlier. That would have been nice to have that support.
I don't want to. We're reminiscing on some of the bad times now. Yeah. I don't want to go too much into this grumpy old man. You've taken us down the dark alleyways. I've
been nothing but positive. I said he's the reason why Londoners drawing fans. They don't play in the other places. They don't draw. They lose franchises. He's the reason why Dave Bolin and Andrew Ladd get big contracts. I don't know how much nicer I could be. I mean, I don't know. And now, just now, since you're a friend of the show, Rob, everyone knows that I am not a Josh Bailey fan. So that's not, and has nothing. And
he's going to make you warm up to Josh Bailey.
No, that's not going to happen, because he cost my new friend Rob Schremp a job. That's the way that I'm going to be selling it from here on out. Okay, that's just the way it's going. From here on out, that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, I want to ask a little bit. I know, because you get, as a coach, I tried to transition a little bit from playing to coaching. Tough. It was really, really tough for me. Like it, and I don't think people understand. It takes a completely different approach. It takes to command a player's respect and understanding like that, and actually conveying the message into a way they understand. It's tough to transition like that. Let me ask you this: what is do you notice a common theme about young players, or some of the players that you help, that a lot of them struggle with in today's game, and when they're trying to acclimate themselves and take their game to the next level? What is something, if you notice a common recurring trend, that they need to take to their approach of the game?
It's tough to say one thing, really. The game is the game's changed a lot, but there's some things in the game that will never change, and the small details and those sort of things are really important. Just simple things like keeping your head on a swivel and understanding where players are on the ice. A lot of players are playing with their head down, staring at the puck, or even when they don't have the puck and they want the puck, they're staring at the puck. They're not watching for open spaces. I'd say that's one that I can put out there that's pretty universal, that I'm seeing at all levels. And it's not just kids, it's, some pro guys as well. really puck watching and want the puck. They don't realize where they're going, where the space is available, and kind of reading the game. The game's changed a lot. You got 14, 15-year-old kids right now that are more skilled than some NHL players back 10, 15 years ago at whatever they were, 30 years old. The game's evolved. Like, there's so much out there. You see it in social media. There's all these new skill drills. There's all these new stick handling drills. What we're tasked with really, and where I like to stay is hockey IQ and where do you use these things. A lot of these things these kids can do on these Instagrams, so can I. I didn't do them. You don't do them in the game, and there's a time and place for them, and it's good for practice. I don't want to, because I've dealt with a lot of that negativity, like, what are you doing? Like, keep it simple sort of stuff. And I disagree. Like, there's time to practice, the skilled stuff and the fun stuff with the puck, and that keeps the game entertaining and fun. But, what's important is how you execute in the game, where to use your quick hands, where to use these types of turns or edges, how to buy time and space. Hockey IQ is really important. And, develop those skills. It's great. I'm not saying don't, but then there's also got to be a piece of it of understanding where it goes in the game. So, there's a healthy balance of practicing with a purpose and, practicing this other stuff that's for, not only say fun, it's developing your skills, but it's not going to be game-like and it's not going to be executable. So that's something that's a tricky balance. And we, with our platform, that's where we are. We watch game film and we show the kids where this stuff goes, where it applies, these small little details. That one that I think that sticks out, though, again, is like head positioning, surveying the ice to count defending players or to observe where the open space is. It's such a simple habit, but once you do it, it gives you the information where you can go to get open or where you can go to, score a goal.
I feel like that's one of those items too. You talk about the comfortability factor you would have too. The more aware and cognizant you are of what's transpiring on the ice, I feel like that allows you to feel more confident, allows you to feel more comfortable out on the ice too, for certain. I do, because I know we got you. Thank you, number one, for being on the podcast today, Rob. I know we've got you for a limited time, so I want to get to some of the fan questions they've got for you. Different Minds is asking, Rob, what was it like playing in Atlanta? And again, I know I'd listened to prior podcasts from you too. You said that when they had moved and they determined that they were going to be shipped up there to Winnipeg, you got a text from Andrew Ladd saying, "Hey boys, you better bring your parkas." And I wanted you to speak a little bit more about the time there in Atlanta.
Yeah, no, Atlanta, it was a different time, to be honest with you. I was trying to fit in, trying to find my place on that team. I knew a bunch of the guys, Bufflin and Blake Wheeler, Andrew Ladd. I knew a bunch of the players on the team. It was interesting. If I'm speaking honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen, where my career was really going, and where I was going to be, where I was going to fit with this organization. And then, then you're going on the ice. We just talked about it a minute ago. You're going out on the ice in front of 3,000 to 5,000 fans in a 21,000 seat building. Really took a lot of, focus on getting yourself up, getting yourself going, making sure you're pumped, because you're not, at that point, you're no longer playing. Again, how I said, I like to play for the fans, put showtime into it. You're more playing for a contract and playing for your career. So it was a little bit of pressure being there. Again, it was uncertainty. Didn't know where I was fitting with the organization. And then after it all ends, in June, we get a text. Because that's the other thing people ask, did you know that they were leaving? I didn't know. I guess unless I was out of the loop, nobody was talking about it in the room. Usually there's chatter. The boys are like, I can't believe we're moving. There was none of that at all. So when I got that text personally, I was shocked. And it was like, wait, what? They're moving the franchise? I mean, it made sense. I'm not saying why would they do that. I understood why, but it was just the first time I heard of it. It was on a group text from our captain.
Now, how miserable was the traffic in Atlanta? Man, oh man, I've driven through a few times. Holy shit. Oh.
Yeah. I always left early. And I was staying in one of those, what do you say, quality and suites, you know what I mean, with the kitchen in the room kind of thing. So I would leave for the rink 4 or 5 hours early before the game. Just, I didn't want to deal with that traffic. And also I want to get out of that little whatever you want to call it, little shack I was in. So I didn't really get stuck too much in that. But, it is bad. Yeah, the city's crammed. The infrastructure for traffic is brutal. It's absolutely horrible.
Okay, so you have Rob Schremp as a guest, and you're asking about Atlanta traffic patterns. Is that correct, TJ? Is that the question that you're asking there?
Yeah, what can I say? Here it is, right? We just found out how he lived. He was living, he said, almost in squalor, grumpy old man. The quality of life wasn't there. But, Grumpy, we're finding things out little by little. Don't be ridiculing the questions I ask, grumpy old man. Warzone Senior Citizen says, Rob, who was the toughest mentally strong player in your Islander years?
That's a few of them. I mean, Ricky D would be one of them. Just going through what he went through with injuries and the way that he battled through them and grinded hard to get back. I mean, he busted his ass and he put the time in trying to get back from every injury. His mental toughness and his discipline was through the roof. Radic Martinic is another guy. Some tough injuries, battled, grinded out rehab. Really tough guys. I mean, some of these injuries were brutal, and they fought to get back in the lineup. So seeing their drive and what they were going through to get back and play was pretty inspirational. Mentally focused, Johnny Tavares, absolutely. He was super focused and driven, and preparation wise, every day he was focused and working his game. So he was one that really worked hard as well, and guys kind of played off of that.
Now, speaking of John Tavares, he used to be TJ's favorite player until about 2018. All of a sudden now he's still butthurt over it.
I'm not butthurt over it.
Here he goes. If I push that button, he'll go into a diatribe. We'll save that for another day, right? But now I don't look at him as being a guy who's really funny in the locker room. Was he or was he not? And who was the funniest player that you've ever played with?
No, Johnny was very serious, very super serious at all times. That's just his way. Funniest guy in the room. That's tough to put a finger on it, really.
You give me a top 5. That's fine. I know.
Oki was. I mean, it's not like so much like prankster. Zenon Konopka. I'm trying. So I got 2 years to think of players. Zenon Konopka was unbelievable. The funniest guy I've ever played. I mean, he's unbelievable. His jokes, and not just jokes, but the way he carries himself, the way he makes guys laugh, and even if it's not about making guys laugh, like the one year they wrote something crappy about us in TSN. And they're shitting on us a little. Excuse my language.
Oh no, you good. I mean, you speak the way you want.
All right. And so the article, whatever it came out, was on TSN, I think, the night before, and then the next day we were at pregame skate, and the guy that did the segment was up in the stands, and we're doing our stretch after, and Zenon starts going after this guy. You think we're this? You think that's that? What are you doing watching this? Then blah blah blah. He goes right after this guy. We're all like, what's going on? But it was, that's the way Z was. He's such a competitor, but. That's just the way he carried himself. He was an absolute warrior, and then he was an absolute glue guy in the locker room. He made sure we were all Sunday night football. Z was the guy that set it up and had us all there having wings and a few pops together and being a team. So Z was probably the one that sticks out to me through my time in Long Island.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then Alexander's saying, Rob, are there any teammates that you still talk to that you played with?
Yeah, it was actually I think it was last summer I was playing golf with Oposo. A few of the guys I still chat with. Josh Bailey, I saw him down when they came down to Florida. Matt Martin. When I see him, we chat, and it's like we never missed a beat. So, but not really. I wouldn't say. Andy Sutton, I keep in really good touch with. Our company actually partnered up with their company, Verbero, for hockey gear and all kinds of apparel, actually off-ice stuff. So Sutsy's the CEO and owner of that company. And we've stayed in touch ever since we played together. We really had a good friendship when we played in the island together. And I was like a big brother to me. He's a monster. And, every day I would kind of made it a I would say mission of mine, but I made a point of it to make Sutsy laugh or get him going, make sure he was happy and make him smile a little bit. So we had a really good friendship and we stayed in touch pretty closely.
Well, I think that's actually ties into another question Tom's asking here and saying, was there a player who took you under his wing and helped you out when arriving to the island? I assume that's Sutton.
Yeah, Sutsy he made me feel welcome. And every day he would say, talk to me and make me feel good in the locker room. In the beginning, it was kind of that mentality, right? Pecking order in the room. And that's what was my previous experience. Sutsy came in as a big veteran guy and a monster of a human being, 6'5", 6'6", 270. And what's up, Shrimpy? You want a coffee? What can I get you, buddy? Just really broke the ice and every day made me feel good until I finally, had that. I always felt like I was part of the team mentality. And then it was the flip roles. I came in and made sure Sutsy was smiling every day and, give him something to laugh about.
Oh, man. It's great to hear. Go ahead, Gro.
Do you find that camaraderie in every organization, or are there ones that stick out that are more welcoming than others in any of your stops, honestly?
Definitely, it's definitely not in every stop. There's different pecking orders in different rooms, the way it goes. So Long Island was a great stop for me, honestly. Came in there, guys were awesome. Ricky was awesome. Ricky DiPietro treated me really well. And he was the franchise guy there. Dougie Wade was great to me. These guys were awesome, but it's not the same everywhere. I'd say that. It's, again, there's a pecking order, and it's pro hockey, and guys are there, I guess, protecting their livelihood. So it's not so much, in junior, always buddy, who cares? We're both, we're all out here just having the time of our lives, playing hockey, making $50 a week, and there's pretty girls in the stands, and that crap. And then you go to pro, and it's like guys have families and wives and kids, and they're fighting for their livelihood. So it's more, sometimes it's a little bit more protection mode from them, instead of like opening up and being, wide open friends with everybody.
How often did you see that? And again, that's an interesting point you bring up. You look down all types of professional sports. Some guys are really easy to saying, hey, we want you to get you indoctrinated. I want you to be, you're like family out here. Other guys, they don't want to let you anywhere near their livelihood. Is that something you saw often?
Yeah, that definitely exists. And it is what it is. And everybody, to each your own. So, I carry myself in the way, like my game will speak for itself. And I don't have to, my personality doesn't have to block you out. It's more I'd rather have our games go at it than, our whatever you want to call it, our social life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's me. And I'm different. So
that's a real professional. That's how real professionals I've always felt like handled it. I mean, you see, no, seriously, you have it. Sometimes people do not. Hey, some people look at it just like a business. Next person in line, I don't want them to get anywhere near me. I want to do anything I can to shit talk in the team. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm saying I've seen it. That's all I'm saying, Grump. I'm not trying to kiss ass.
Really? Okay.
Oh, grumpy. Tom B saying a beautiful day here at Long Beach. And now, Rob, what's your favorite moment being a New York Islander?
Scoring my first goal would be against Tim Thomas against Boston in the Coliseum. So that was something I dreamt about as a kid, and didn't happen the way I thought it would. I imagined it being like a bar down, high glove shot. I wound up scoring a bank shot from behind the goal line, but that moment was such a weight off my chest, and it was super exciting. And I think I almost blew Mark Straight's back out when I skated, probably 10 strides and jumped into his arms. So that moment was amazing, and something I'll never forget.
Oh man, absolutely. Grumpy, I need you to give a little shout out, Adrian, saying, hey, TJ, Grumpy, what's up? How you guys doing?
Okay, little background here, Rob. TJ reads all the comments. He does not. I'm not privy to any of them. So,
and I mispronounce names. So,
right. And he called this young lady Adrian. So I always say, "Yo, Adrian, we love you. We did it." Yo, Adrian, Rocky. But her real name is Adrienne, and so I'm doing this for years and years and years. Well, a long time. And TJ's made me look like a fool. And I don't really appreciate that, TJ. But yo, Adrian, Tampa Bay did it this year, baby.
Oh, goodness gracious. And Alexander is saying, who was the hardest working teammate you've ever come across? And I know you talked, and I'll give you a chance to think about it too, because there's a lot of teammates out there. But I know you talked a little bit before, like Corey Perry, during your days of juniors and everything like that. He just had a different switch. He was just all about scoring, and and again, I know you've run across a lot of different professional players at different levels. But if you're thinking hardest working,
hardest working. That's a good question. It's such a hard thing to achieve because everybody works so hard these days. And even in my time when I played, the game totally evolved. Everybody was bagging. In Edmonton, it was the guys there were out of this world. Jarrett Stahl, Ethan Morrow were two guys that really stick out in my mind. I went and trained with them out in California, and they blew me out of the water. They'd start at 8:00 in the morning and train till 12 o'clock every day, 4 hours straight. They could squat the gym. Then I take it to Skellefteå. I played up in Skellefteå, Sweden. These guys, all 20 guys, were unbelievable work ethics. I'd never seen anything like it before. Bagging the day before a game, they were doing 95% max squats for 5 sets. Single leg deadlifts, single leg deadlifts. All these things day before a game. So I've come across so much. It's tough to have one guy stick out. But I would say in Edmonton, those two guys really, from my career, I remember when I first saw him, I was like, holy shit, like, how am I going to play here? Like, these guys are machines, and I don't have that gear.
William C. saying, hey, Rob, what do you think about the current Islanders team ending the miserable arena saga with the Coliseum with the brand new UBS arena?
I think it would be good for guys to be, I think the players is probably less, I'd say, stressful. They know they got to show up and play no matter what arena it's in. But it's nice to have somewhere to be home, and with all the backroom chatter of where it's going to be played, what's going to happen. It's probably nice to be set down, but I think it's probably more settling for the fans to understand where their team's going to be and where it's going to be based. But I think it was a lot of noise over the last 3 or 4 years about this. It's just kind of crazy to, now the Arizona Coyotes are going to have the same problem, but it's just stuff that's kind of a bit of a distraction. But for the guys, the ice is the ice, the game's the game. They know they got to show up to play and produce and perform to stay in the league. So I don't think it's too big of a deal for the players as much,
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know, I'm sorry, Grump, go ahead. And it looks like you got a question.
I know the questions are very difficult, especially the ones that TJ asks, but who did you hate to play against the most? Most hated opponent? Man, I just don't want to, I hate this guy. And maybe it's a teammate. I don't know. But no, probably some other team, somebody that you just hated to play against.
Through my whole career and time in NHL, would you say?
Oh, your whole career. It doesn't matter.
Whole career would probably be Steve Downey. Steve Downey or, that's probably the number one. He played on Windsor. We played a ton against him in junior in London, and he was such a rat. And he was fairly skilled, but he was almost a middleweight fighter. Like, he could scrap, and he would every game would be going after Perry, myself, or the skilled guys, knowing, like, we're obviously not answering that bell. But then he could also score points as well. So he would be a rat, and then he'd wind up on the score sheet, and he'd be chirping about it, even at World Juniors, I was there one time, he gave me the face off. I was waiting for the draw to come down, and he comes in and hits me in the head with his stick. Stupid stuff like that he, almost like a Sean Avery-ish. That type of guy. So that's one that sticks out to me.
I heard he didn't shower before games either. I mean, this guy was real trouble.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. Oh man. And I know we've got you for a limited time. So Grump, if you have one last question, because we want to respect Rob's time, go ahead and I'll let you get at it, Grump.
Actually, no, TJ. Are there any more comments? You have a question? Because now you put me under pressure. All right. So now I have to think of a question. But it's going to be something that's going to make Rob look really good in front of his wife. So give me at least 30 seconds. So I'll ask you a quick question.
You're going to ask me. Fair enough, Grumpy. One item, again, we always try to ask if you're thinking, because again, players and professional athletes are jokesters by nature. I know you said Konopka was, he was the funny guy in the room. Now, were there any pranks that stuck out to you? I know we asked Richie Pilon this. Are there any pranks where you thought, holy crap, this is going to get us all killed? Were there any crazy pranks that happened, when you're back in the locker room?
No, not really, to be honest with you. And the other thing was, you touched on it earlier, that we were kind of in turmoil times in the teams I was on, so it wasn't really time for screwing around or playing pranks. We were back in junior, though. Dale Hunter used to do stupid stuff all the time. He'd be the first one off the ice as the coach, obviously. He'd go in and cut guys' socks. He'd cut guys' ties. He would do stupid stuff like that, like old school pranks. One time he took Corey Perry's sandals, and his parents didn't have them. Corey didn't find out until about 3 years later. We came back from this, so he turned pro. He came back 3 years later, and we were out having a few beers in London. And Pears looks down, he's like, "Those are my sandals." And Dad just started laughing, and he started howling. But 3 years later, for me, one time I was in the locker room in the summertime after we played there, but I brought my golf bag in there. We were just summer skating. I was pro at that time. I brought my golf bag in there. We're going to play golf after. I come out after the skate. My driver's gone. And same type of story. I didn't know, and I was losing my shit. I just got that driver, and I was like, the trainer, I'm like, who steals stuff out of the locker room? Blah blah blah. Yeah. This is bullshit. And a year later, playing a golf round with Dale Hunter, he pulls out my TaylorMade driver. I'm like, that's my driver. He just started howling, laughing. So he was pretty good at those pranks and holding them for a long time too, until you kind of figured it out. But in my playing days, I didn't really play with any good pranksters. I wish I did. So I really enjoy that stuff.
Now, Dale Hunter was your coach in London at that time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, during practice, if somebody scored a goal and they were skating, celebrating, Did he wait 5, 10, 15 seconds and then run into the board like he did with Pierre Turgeon?
Oh, that's tough. I know I probably shouldn't bring his name up.
No, that's okay, because it gave me a question to ask you, so that's fine.
Well, he tells the story, and it's funny. I mean, it's not terrible. The guy blew his shoulder out that he hit, but the story that he tells is that he never heard the whistle. That was the thing.
Oh no!
He went for the
good.
play.
I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he had to go to his. He said he did it. Whatever had happened, and he gets to the room, and they call him in the office. Like, Dale, what are you thinking? He's like, I didn't hear a whistle, and they're like, get the hell out of here, right? So he gets out of the room. He's got to go to a league hearing. The same thing. I'm not sure it was Gary Bettman at the time. The same thing. He's in front of his hearing, and they ask him, Dale, what were you thinking? Why would you do? He's like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't hear the whistle. There was no whistle. I thought the play was still going. so that's what he had going for him. And him and all his buddies back home, they had his 50th birthday party, and they made up T-shirts like something like that. I didn't hear the whistle.
Well, see now, what I'm going to take out of this whole interview is that Dale Hunter is death. That's the one thing I'm going to remember for forever, and we're going to use that for certain. Now, you were not really a pugilist during your hockey career, and now you're married for a while. How many years you've been married now, if you don't mind me asking?
6 years.
6 years. Okay, so you've been around the block a few times. Since you're not a fighter, can your wife take you in a fight?
Okay. Depends on how mad I make her.
The answer is yes. The answer is always yes.
Yes.
Very good. There you go.
Well, and again, Rob, thank you so much for coming on. And we've got linked below, we've got 44 Vision Hockey, again, where you can find them on Twitter, you can find them on Facebook, you can find them on YouTube, where you can find all that information. Now, Rob, and again, I think you touched on it a little bit, but if, let's say, for example, people are not living near you in Latvia, could they go ahead and get help, for sons, possibly for, even daughters? I think, I've heard that, as well, you have female national players as well that help out with that. Is that something they could do, remote?
Absolutely. That's kind of what the platform was, how it was developed. And that's the backbone of it, is we can pass our knowledge and experience on to anybody in the world if they have game film. And that's what we do. We use their game film. We go and look at it and then interject our, vision of what these players can be doing on the ice, these situations that they're in, whether it be whatever, I'm just throwing it off for the conversation, but a 2-on-1 situation, how to execute, what to look for, how to manipulate the D or the goalie. And that's with them in that space, because that's a lot of the stuff too, is we get caught up in a lot of things in the hockey space of showing just the NHL people what they're doing. I mean, that has value to show what they're doing. But I think what has a lot more value, not more, but maybe same value, is watching that player watching himself in that situation. Here you are. Now see yourself through the lens of the camera and see what you did here and see what you have. So the answer is yeah. And we have some great women's players as well. And that was the idea to help the women's game grow, is interjecting those high-level women's experience and knowledge of the game into these young girls coming up and playing. And I think it's going to be super impactful for if you have a young daughter, to have, Brianne Decker or Rebecca Johnson or Amanda Pelkey kind of interjecting in your game and mentoring your player. It's super helpful. And I'm working with players anywhere from, U11, U10 was the youngest player I've worked with. Starting out, it was a little nerve-wracking. I wasn't sure it's a young age. Yeah. But the game's come such a long way, and it's amazing to watch these even 10, 11, 12-year-old kids play and what they're doing. When I first started, I thought of it more of like that, maybe 14 to pro. And as I started working with more and more players, it had benefit almost at all levels. If they have game film, and a lot of these places, a lot of these rinks, especially in the States, they have the live barn or hockey TV stuff going. So their games are there, and we can use them. You just kind of sign up on the platform, pick a coach that you want to work with. And from there, we get to work with the game film, and the players get a video library. So we cut the clips up for them and their little information pieces. We cut the clip for them, put them in their library, and we put our notes into them. And then we connect on a Zoom with the players after to kind of go over those clips, break down the information that's in it, and to make sure that they understand it fully. So again, it's a little bit different. It's more, again, building on hockey, I think, like hockey IQ lane, so to speak. Yeah. And not so much we're not the private lesson coach. If you were in the area, I would do private lessons for sure. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that, but this platform gives us a chance to reach, globally.
It's like being able to have ex-professionals watch film and give you tips and tricks, it's like saying, here we go, we've got, you may have Coach Joe Matanats, your local coach around you, but you've got here Rob Schremp, and you've got a plethora of different ex-NHLers, ex-professionals who are able to sit down in the room essentially with you, and they're able to give you little tips and tricks and pointers and saying, hey, this is what you're doing here at the moment in order to take your game to the next level. This is what you should be doing in that situation. Again, watching film and being prepared for it is always the best way to go ahead and improve on your craft. And again, Rob, we do want to thank you for coming on to the podcast here today. And I love what you're doing with 44 Vision Hockey and, the platform that you guys do have. And again, I love the insight you were able to give us on the Islanders and some old takes on, your old playing days.
My pal, Josh Bailey and Dale Hunter. I'm going to remember them both well.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you thinking of me and having me on, inviting me on. And I look forward, maybe we can get together again in the future some point.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you on. Thank you so much again, Rob. I know you got that birthday to go to, but
boys.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was amazing, grumpy old man. I loved having Rob Schremp on over here.
Yeah, like TJ doing his best Walter Cronkite interpretation with all the hard-hitting questions.
I don't think I was asking any hard-hitting questions.
No, I thought your questioning was very good. That's what I was trying to say. I thought your questions were very good.
Oh, I know, grumpy old man. I love anytime I'm able to get a little insight of what the locker room was like and what some of those old times are like. It's something that we don't, as fans, get to insight on much. I mean, we can listen, Butchie talk about the stories, but other than that, we really don't get much insight into that.
True. 100% agree there.
Absolutely, Grump. You didn't come prepared today. You didn't come with many questions, Grump.
Well, you just bogarted the whole conversation, which I expected. Honestly, I expected that, though. I know that you liked Rob Schremp. You always liked him.
Well, I always thought Rob Schremp was a guy who had unbelievable, immense talent on the ice. And again, that's one of those things too. You talk about an unfortunate circumstance to where, he was just a few years before the time of when the game started to change. You talk about a guy who could have really lit it up, just as he said. You look at what he did in juniors, you look at what he did in the A, where it wasn't, hey, we can clutch and grab and I could stick my stick into you and ride you for about 4 or 5 strides with no calls. I can slash you on the hands. The game has completely changed where those type of items where they, old players are able to get away with, slashing on the hands, hooking, grabbing, clutching. That doesn't happen anymore in the league. In the regular season, that's immediately blown dead. And a guy who had an immense amount of skill he would have really been able to exploit today's game. I do believe that. Yeah,
he certainly would have been more successful in today's game without a doubt, just with his creativity. And he recognizes that as well, which is good. So, like I said, but why didn't I ask a whole lot of questions? Because you didn't ask really a whole lot of inane questions like you usually do, except for, Atlanta traffic patterns. I don't know how many people from Atlanta listen to our podcast or are interested in that, honestly.
Anthony G said, I wanted to know taking the rights on red were legal in Atlanta. I don't know. I wanted to ask what it was like. I mean, I've been through Atlanta a few times. It's miserable. I've driven through Atlanta, freaking miserable. And I'm sure living in Atlanta wasn't much fun. He was there for 20 some odd games. And I wanted to know, like, hey, what was the atmosphere like? I didn't want to say, hey, just wanted to kind of slowly get a little information out of him. What can I say?
Okay, let me ask you a question. You're talking about Atlanta traffic patterns, right? If he was only there for what? 2 months, let's say, wouldn't even had a chance to learn how he could have got to the arena quicker from where he lived. He wouldn't have had that opportunity. He's just probably taking the main drags, just like you. There are sideways you can get to Atlanta.
Listen to me, you hear players speculate that, you hear fans speculate that players absolutely freaking hated having to go to Barclays Arena. They hated it. And I'm assuming, playing in front of no fans in the stands, playing in Atlanta as it was dying on the way out, and playing for the Thrashers with the traffic that was going, I had to feel like that was miserable. I know he was all hockey all the time, but I'm talking about for quality of life. I think that probably had to be one of the worst stops he had. And that's what I was trying to get at there, Grump. I didn't want to say, hey, I don't want to go, bam, here we go, break in case of emergency. I wanted to ask and see what he said. And that's kind of what I gathered from it, Grump.
Okay, whatever. You can sell that any way you want. I'm glad I didn't push the John Tavares button too much because we would have.
Oh, we got a question about John Tavares. Alexander was asking it, the whole take on the John Tavares signing. I didn't want to because it would have been a little bit back and forth because, I still have my opinion. No one's going to be able to change that, I don't think. But I know we had to respect his time. So, oh, man. But this is a time period, grumpy old man, that the Islanders, we have, I think, settled the majority of our offseason. That we have. I mean, we've got Parise. He's 100% signed with us. He's been signed for weeks and weeks. I think close to a month. So we know for certain he is going to be with the organization. I don't. Go ahead.
You can pencil in your opening night lineup right now. Right now, with the exception of the second, the Letty spot. Other than that, I can tell you everything that they're going to roll out there on opening night.
Yeah,
barring injury.
And again, I didn't plug our podcast. I'm sorry, guys. I always should do this at the beginning. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. Again, we go live every single Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know this was early, but again, Rob is in Latvia, so time we had to make sure that it worked into all schedules. So that's why we were a little early today. Also, that being said, we do a general sports podcast on Sundays and Thursdays. Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But grumpy old man.
I smell an NFL preview show on Sunday.
Fair enough. We might, grumpy old man. I'll tell you now. Master Lego Yoda said Dale Hunter just mad that Turgeon scored, so he hit him. Oh, still was a great run in 1990.
I'm just going to say. Dale Hunter said that he did not hear the whistle. Maybe he was blind as well, because when I see guys skating away from the puck with his arms up in the air, Dale Hunter's played a long time. He just didn't come in from Mars or Pluto or Saturn or Jupiter. He's been on the planet a while, played hockey for a while. Usually when you're skating away from a play, and you got your hands up in the air and the whole crowd is erupted, that means goal. I'd love to see that again. I just want to see if his not hearing it has any validity at all, just by what you see and what you hear. It was loud. I mean, usually when offensive players are skating away from the goal and the crowd erupts, it means a goal.
Yeah, Grumpy, I could see how you're making that argument, grumpy old man. I'll make sure we go ahead and get it pulled up. But here's one thing that is, oh goodness gracious, Grumpy. It's going to be a tough sell. I don't know how it's a real tough sell. Dale Hunter must have also been a hell of a salesman, ladies and gentlemen. If you have anything you're looking to sell, just slap Dale Hunter in there. But here we go. I'll go ahead and pull this big screen for you, Grumpy.
Okay, there's a goal. He's skating away. He's still skating. The play's obviously over. Celebrate. Yes, he didn't hear the play. Everyone's got their hands up.
I had to go back here. Here, let's. Yeah, he sees the puck go into the net.
He sees the puck go in the net. He's pissed.
Here's another thing too, right? If the play, and I'm not coming at Rob, but Dale Hunter, come on, he's not even skating. He's gliding right now at this point. If the play was still going on. He's gliding from his
Benoit Hogue with his hands up in the air.
Oh, goodness gracious. I can't watch.
And he's looking for somebody to come at him. He knows.
Yeah. Well, it's going to make me sad, so we won't keep talking about that one. What could have been? The grumpy old man.
Yeah, that's a certain what could have been. That year was what could have been.
I did like the comparison Rob Schremp did, to the kids with Fortnite and with Warzone and everything like that. They talk about how they try to get every single little competitive advantage and edge, because now we're in a time period to where availability of information it's infinite. You can go online and you can find anything and everything that tries to give you any competitive advantage. And they talk about, how they're trying to do that with video games. You think about how sports and youth sports has changed immensely over that time period too.
Yeah. Now Fortnite, that's a video, right? Video game.
Yeah, it's a video game. That's correct.
And what was the other one?
What was that?
Was there another video game you mentioned too?
Warzone. Warzone is the other
Warzone. Okay. So these are killing games, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'd rather have the kids play hockey games as opposed to the killing games. I don't need to. I don't want to teach Americans use the best way to kill somebody.
Alexander's saying, yeah, I think Rob would have been an all-star in this NHL. For sure. I'll tell you one thing. His career, he would have had a long career in the NHL. That is for certain. He would have been a guy who was hanging up, 40-plus points year over year. I mean, hell, he was doing that even – he was on pace for half a point a game with, the lean Islanders. Imagine him in today's NHL. For certain, he would have been a guy.
Yeah, I don't know if he would have been an all-star, but he certainly would have had a much longer career in today's NHL. Because what's the one thing that teams, they need players who can score. I mean, it's so important. It's always important, but even more important now with the way the goaltenders are and stuff like that. Guys who can score and put the puck in the net at a high premium. Ask our team.
Dirk C. said, he also said, hey guys, how are you? A nice time you picked today, Dirk over there in Germany. Also saying, I like all of our signings except Palmieri. And Grumpy, this year is Holmstrom's year. You watch, Grumpy, you watch.
No. And, Holmstrom will not make the team. He'll be back in the AHL, and they'll dream up some new excuse why he's not performing in the AHL. They use he's the youngest guy. He's still one of the youngest players. Hey, he's still pretty young. I don't know what they're going to come up with this year, but they'll have to come up with a new excuse for his failure.
Oh, come on! He'll take a step forward, but again, I think he's a guy. I'm not saying he won't be able to be a successful NHLer because I still think there's plenty of time for him. It just always you get caught kicking yourself that two Joes who were able to watch hockey and watch the clips of these guys that year were able to say, I think that talent-wise there were a few players that may have been more suitable for our team that we passed up over. We were able to say that year. It's not like we were able to look back 5, 10, 15 years ago, 5, 10, 15 years down the road and say, oh, we could have had this player or that player. We were able to say that year's draft. That's always the part that bugs me, Grump.
As
this year's draft, hey.
Yeah.
Much better than this year's draft.
Yes. As D-Cut, David Cutler from Isles Misery, rated R.
Look at that.
I think I got it right, whole thing.
Yeah.
Has brought out the three amigos. And those are the guys I was pumping before the draft. My boy, Philip Tomasino, Connor McMichael, and Arthur Kaliev. Those are the three guys that I'm always going to compare Casper Holmstrom to throughout his whole career. Now, how long it is, another couple of years in the AHL before he goes back to Sweden, however long it's going to be, I don't know. But I just hope that Dirk doesn't die on that hill for Casper Holmstrom like TJ is dying on the hill for Otto Koivula.
I'm telling you, guess what? I'm gonna be sitting here with a shit-eating grin on my face when Simon Holmstrom has a 20-plus goal season. That's all I'm gonna say, Grumpy. I'm just gonna have. I don't even think when that happens, Grumpy. I don't even think I'll have to do anything. I could just sit here and smile, and you're gonna know exactly what I'm saying. Mario's saying you don't need to be Nostradamus to have predicted that Lou wouldn't do anything. All you have to do is be aware of Lou's history.
I mean, I called it right at the beginning of the offseason. I said he's not gonna do anything. Never does anything. Never.
Absolutely. Oh, Eli's saying, Grump, how are the traffic patterns down? Is it? Here we go, boys. I got another shirt. How are the traffic patterns? There we go, boys. On another never-ending list of shirts that I add, now we've got, how are the traffic patterns? Oh, God. Whatever. Yeah.
And, the whole thing is TJ actually has somebody lined up who can print the shirts. It's the fact that he doesn't want to go with my design and he thinks he's smarter than everybody else, which we know is absolutely not true, that we don't have these shirts out there.
Well, the Islanders Never Say Die podcast crew is hard at work. We're focusing on great production and bringing on excellent guests and making sure that we can have the shirts and designs done at the top of the list of, many things that we want to make sure we can bring to you, the listeners.
Yeah.
Is that PR-y enough, Grumpy?
And did you notice how TJ was so serious, how he reads things like with some type of inflection, like he's trying to be so smart? We all know better.
Hey, I had to put on a show. What can I say, Grump? We had to sound really professional today, Grumpy. Anytime we bring on some of the ex NHLers, the ex Islanders, that is Grumpy old man.
You do have a face built for radio, without a doubt.
So you're trying to tell me from now on out, I just need to not have the actual video of myself. I just need to have a stock image. Is that what it is?
Yeah, like the bird, the little pigeon that you put up there when you have to go to the bathroom because you can't make it a couple hours without going to the potty.
Oh, goodness. Paulo C said, Grumpy, last podcast with Andy Frances. He said that players peak about age 30 to 31. He mentioned Patrick Kane. I totally agree with you that players peak early.
They do. They do peak early in their career. They don't peak in their 30s. It's when they're younger.
Like when we're talking Patrick Kane, we talk about anomalies. Patrick Kane is one of those first ballot Hall of Famers. He could die on a truck tomorrow. He's being put in the Hall of Fame. Doesn't matter if he plays anymore. He could tear his knee in half, never play another minute of ice time. He's going to the Hall of Fame. First ballot guy too.
Now I mentioned to Andy Jonathan Taves, right? He hasn't done anything since he's hit his 30s, really. It was all earlier in his career. That's what most guys are. Their peak years are like 25 to 29.
I did like Andy. I loved his energy when he was on too, and I loved that he would fight you on everything, Grumpy. He'd fight you on what he thought, and sometimes they get tired. I'm fighting the grumpy old man so much. I'm throwing lefts and rights, and it wears me down. It's nice to bring on somebody who sees
it. Wasn't much of a battle because he was wrong on everything he said. Just
grumpy, man, oh man. And next
week, that's the great thing. That's the great thing about having a guest and then have him not be on the show after that. I can just pick him apart. It's very easy.
Oh man,
we did enjoy having Andy on the podcast though. With that,
certain, we loved it. And this next Wednesday, we've got Grumpy. We've got one of your pals, Grumpy old man, Mike Hartman.
Yeah,
Stanley Cup winner for the New York Rangers.
Yep, and totally different, right? TJ invites a guest on. He's a skilled guy. Doesn't play the rough stuff. Me, I get a guest on. He can throw the hands. That's all I'm going to say. Mike Hartman was a scrapper in his day.
Absolutely, he was, Grumpy old man. Absolutely, he was. Now I'll tell you, he's gonna be a fun guy to have on too. I know he does a little bit of podcasting there on his own. We'll make sure we go ahead and talk to him about kind of what's going on in his time period. He's also another guy who taught and has taught young individuals how to play the game and what to look for when they're playing. But Grump, I want to ask you now. I know we got a chance to speak a little bit with Andy about it, about the signings. I mean, it looks like, we've got what the lineup is going to be. We're going to have that. It's cemented in. I don't anticipate too many changes, maybe a Tarasenko, but if I'm going to Vegas, I'm putting my odds are higher that we're not bringing in a Vladimir Tarasenko than that we are bringing a Vladimir Tarasenko in.
Yeah, he's not coming in. No shot. Yeah, it's funny. I was glancing at the Isles Inquirer today.
Oh God.
And of course, Zach Parise saying he's coming in. They say that Zach Parise can have the biggest bounce back season in 2022 because that's what 37-year-olds do. They bounce back from off years really, really well.
Well, okay, when you break it down like that, no, for certain they do not. That being said, though, Grumpy, I think the circumstance he'll be in this year will be better than the circumstance he was in last year. I think you're going to see production increase. I'm just not – for people that are coming in with the expectation that Zach Parise is going to 180, he's going to increase offensive production by, 100% higher than he had last year. Pump the freaking brakes a little bit. You might see a few more goals. You might see a few more assists, but kind of what you're seeing is what you're going to get. He's going to play alongside Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Oliver Wahlstrom, which is going to open up a lot of chances and opportunity. But, as a player as a whole, you got to be careful with those guys. You're 37, 38 years old. You maybe have to load management. We're going to have a condensed portion of the season, and we have to make sure our players are ready to go for the playoffs because, hey, it's all about getting to the postseason. Once you're in the postseason, it's a completely different animal.
Here's the thing. I think he will have a better year than last year. Why? Because he's going to be playing every night. He's going to be playing, 75 games or whatever, 70 games as opposed to, people keep forgetting he was a healthy scratch at the end of the year in Minnesota. Not even good enough to play on Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And we expect him to come back here and be a full-time player at 37 years old. I'm just saying, pump the brakes on the expectations, people. That's all I'm saying.
And I think you will be okay. And well, I love how Alexander says, yeah, they bounce back to the injury list.
Very true.
Well, here's the thing. You are coming at it with a I understand that people need to pump the brakes a little bit. That being said, he'll do better than he did last year. Can we agree on that? He'll perform just because of the line mates he's in and the spot that he'll run, because he will get power play minutes from the line mates he'll be with Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Oliver Wahlstrom, what might be the best third line in hockey next year. He'll have better production.
Okay, he can't possibly do as bad as he did last year. What do you have, 18 points on the whole year?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think he had 18 points. Okay, yeah. So maybe he'll get 25 points. I mean, I don't know what your expectations are for him. I mean, he's not going to be the Zach Parise of 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. He's going to be Zach Parise, 37-year-old. That's what he's going to be. He's older than Rob Schremp. And Rob Schremp is retired out of the game. Zach Parise was a good player in his time. He's just a guy now. He's a healthy scratch on Minnesota. That's what he was. Those are facts at the end of the year. I only deal in facts.
I think you can expect Rob Schremp, bare minimum, take this to the bank, at least 15 goals and at least 15 assists. Bare minimum, Grumpy.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see. You say he's going to play on the power play. He plays the down low in front of the goalie role like Anders Lee. So who's going to sit out on that second power play? You're going to sit Brock Nelson down? Because that's Brock Nelson's role on the second power play unit.
I think they will find a spot for Zach Parise on the power play. They'll find a spot for him. That's all I'm going to tell you.
So we're thinking that he's going to reinvent his game at age 37. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm just saying the two down low guys for the Islanders on their power play are Anders Lee and Brock Nelson. So you're saying that Zach Parise is going to be doing something else that he's never done before in his whole career at 37, and he's going to be successful at it. Okay, that'll be a first.
I think 30 points as a whole is safe to assume if he stays healthy the whole year. You're not going to see 50 because everybody points out and says, oh, well, back in 2018-19, before the bubble started, and COVID hit, he had 61 points in 74 games. And, even you look at the COVID year, he had 46 points in about 70 games. Oh, well, we can expect him to have 50 some odd points. I think that you are going to be sadly mistaken if you expect Zach Parise to put up 50 points. And here's the thing, right? I think a reasonable expectation is 30 some odd points for Parise. That's what a fan who can remove their orange and blue sunglasses, 30 points, 15 goals, I think is, a reasonable expectation for Zach Parise this year.
Okay. He had 18 points in 45 games last year. 30 points is practically the same point per game as that. I'm just saying. So the numbers might be hard because he plays more games, but the production is going to be the same, which is that of, below average. 18 points in 49 games, right? Figure that out over 82 games. How many is that? Probably 30 something, right? 31, 32. So I don't think it's a jump. That's, just if you just play out, if he was good enough to play out the whole season with Minnesota, which he was not.
You have taken the approach of he will continue on the decline. You're going to see actually worse performance than you did last year. I'm saying you might see the same, if not a little better.
Well, I'm just saying the Islanders acquirer said bounce back. And to me, bounce back would mean that he's going to be scoring on a level that he had previous years, which was, almost, 3/4 of a point a game or whatever it is. I don't see that from him. That's all.
Nick D saying, good morning, guys, from Vancouver. The last show with Annie Francis was a great one. Keep up the fantastic work, guys. And don't forget about those shirts, TJ. Thank you, Nick D. We appreciate it. We're not forgetting. The Islanders Never Say Die podcast crew is not forgotten about the shirts. They're over here hard at work on them.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of shirts we can put out there, but
TJ. Here's the thing. I'm almost thinking about maybe we should get a professional to do it, Grump.
No problem. I have no problem with that. Just give them my idea.
Okay. We could just give them some ideas like they made the logo for us. If you guys like the type of logo that was created, maybe we can get some professionals, go ahead and whip up a few ideas for us and sketches, because I'll try my hand at it. I've tried my hand at it. They just don't come out as good as I envision them. And not as good as they come out in my head, at least.
I'm not an artist. Okay.
No,
I'm
I'm not
not an artist. That's why I just said, the grumpy old man staying there with the frown, Grumpy's groupies, and have a couple of hot babes hanging on my ankles, so life imitates art,
Oh, man.
or art imitates life.
Eli saying about the Islanders Inquirers, those Islanders stooges over there. They clickbait sites are a disgrace.
I like the Isle Stooges. That's exactly what they are. They're stooges.
Could you, Grumpy? How are we ever going to get them on our podcast one day, Grumpy? If you're going to call them stooges,
They'd never come on this podcast. They would never come on this podcast.
Grumpy, you never know.
No, I'm going to tell you, they never would. I'd love for them to come on here. They wouldn't appreciate it, and certainly not by the end.
Oh, stop. You come on, Grumpy. Come on.
I would ask them, how do you get paid? Do you get paid by the letter?
They get paid by the letter. They get paid by the letter. They get paid by the word, not the letter. So that's how all of those type of companies work, Grumpy. When you're posting and you produce media that comes out in the form of text, you get paid by the word.
Well, I'd say, do you realize you say nothing? You should write political speeches because you say nothing. That's what they should be writing for. They should write for political candidates. They say nothing, just a whole bunch of words, and then people go home. It's like, oh, what did they say? Oh, nothing.
Master Lego Yoda said the Parise is finished. Okay.
Yeah, he is. There's nothing wrong with that. He's 37. There's nothing wrong with that. He's 37 years old.
Eli said, 1st to 8. How do you think the Pacific is going to end up next year? It's such a weak division, but it'll be fun to watch since each team has a shot of making the playoffs, Grump. I'll pull up the Pacific division here for us. So
okay. I haven't even looked at any of that yet. It's way too early yet. But I'll just roll it. So, I'll take a shot. Usually I'm pretty accurate on those things anyway.
Oh, stop, Grumpy. Anyway, I'm about to pull up here. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm pulling up. I've got it for us.
Do we hear a click? I didn't hear a click.
It's because you don't have to worry about hearing the clicks, Grumpy old man.
Okay.
So these are the Pacific divisions: Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton, Los Angeles Kings, San Jose Shark, the Seattle Kraken, Vancouver Canucks, and Vegas Golden Knights.
Vegas, Edmonton. Man, I'm leaning. I want to say Los Angeles is going to be improved this year. Calgary, Vancouver. The bottom 3 are going to be Anaheim, San Jose, and Seattle. Those will be your bottom 3. Seattle, I'm sorry. I don't see how they're going to score any goals.
I'm going to go a little different than you. I think who's going to win the division? I think it's going to be Vegas. I think number 2 is going to be Edmonton. I think 3rd in the division, Vancouver Canucks. I think number 4, I think it's reasonable to expect. I think probably the Kings. I mean, they're going to have some growing pains.
Calgary.
Calgary's just. You wonder how the Johnny Gaudreau issue affects the locker room. I think Calgary's got a lot of talent, but I mean, it didn't come in the form of wins last season. But you talk about the talent, individual talent, they do have it. If I'm talking about playoff caliber teams, I think for certain, I think you're going to see Vegas. I think you're going to see Edmonton. And I think you're going to see Vancouver. Those are going to be the 3 teams that I think you're going to see in the playoffs out of that mix, at least.
Okay. Like I said, I just think now the Kings were not great last year, but I see them as certainly developing. This year might not be the year for them, but I think the first 2 are locks, Vegas and Edmonton, and the bottom 3 are locks, Anaheim, San Jose, and Seattle. And then you could jumble up the rest and how it is. I mean, I think Calgary still has I think they have a better team. Maybe they'll be 3rd. Here's the thing. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a fun season. Getting back to full 82-game schedule, I mean, that's really great. Yeah.
And Paul O.C. said, Grumpy, on the penalty kill, you have to have a player that's willing to pay the price in front of the net. Maybe he meant on the power play. And then he's like, players like Lee and Paul Mary, it's so important.
Agreed. I'm just saying that on our power play, it's Lee and Nelson. Those are the 2 net front presence. Those are the guys who absorb the blows. It's not Palmieri, and it has been Parise in the past. And my whole thing is, who are you moving out from there? Are you going to move Brock Nelson to a trigger spot? I mean, usually it's a bigger body that needs to be down low. I know Parise has done that.
Maybe they'll play Parise in a trigger spot.
That's okay. So, like I said, so he's going to reinvent his game at 37 years old. It's just unlikely. That's all I'm saying. Very unlikely.
We shall see. We shall see. Eli also saying Vegas has set the expectations for Seattle way too high. I don't see how they make an above fifth without any scoring talent.
Yeah, they don't have anyone to put the puck in the net. I mean, I'm flabbergasted at what Francis did out there for the Kraken. I don't know. Maybe they had that girl make the picks.
Oh, maybe they did for the Kraken, grumpy old man. But hey, Grump, I know today was an earlier day for our podcast. Again, very thankful that Rob Schremp was able to take some time to come on it. Grump, is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap things up? Because next Wednesday we're gonna have Mike Hartman, and then we will have I think it's on September the 11th, which is that Saturday. We will not have a podcast, so we'll not have a podcast live that Saturday, September the 11th, as we usually do. Yeah,
that's news to me.
Grumpy will not have a podcast on September the 11th. That is correct. And then we'll have Randall from the Zoo on the 15th talking about his inside stories back during the Mike Milbury days. Holy crap, is that one that's a can't miss too. But Grumpy, is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap things up today? And again, I know it was an early one today, so I'm sure some people are going to be watching this in post and not able to comment there or be part of the live stream, but they're going to watch it in post or listen in post. But Grump, anything else you would like to say before we wrap today's podcast up?
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listened and even those who don't, from TJ and the grumpy old man.
Thank you, Grumpy, again, as always, for being a part of it. Oh, and Alexander saying rest in peace to Dave Patton for certain.
Yeah, what a shame. I mean, 47 years old, former New England Patriot, part of their Super Bowl winning years, the first part of the dynasty.
4.
And he didn't win 4. He did not win 4.
Was it 3 or 4?
3.
Okay.
But he made a lot of big catches, right? A journeyman, really. But he comes there and Tom Brady makes him into a star. Oh, yes, I did manage to get into Tom Brady reference right at the very end. Thank you very much. But, I heard that he was a preacher at the end of his life. Died in a motorcycle accident. Really a shame. So thoughts and prayers to his family, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, Grumpy Old Man, and thank you, Rob Schremp. Thank you, everybody who listened to the podcast and showed up here live. I know we had a little bit of a different time today. But again, thank you, everybody who listened. Thank you, Grumpy. We'll be coming live again this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ex-Stanley Cup champion Mike Hartman on the show. Make sure you tune in. Thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
Who do you win that Stanley Cup with?
The New York Rangers. Oh, goodness.
Okay.
Grumpy Old Man, all I'm going to tell you is people are going to have, them saying that you are a Rangers fan comes truer and truer. The more guests you bring on. One guest Grumpy brings on, take notes, ladies and gentlemen, ex-New York Rangers. So just go ahead and let that sink in. The one guest Grumpy Old Man brings on, ex-New York Ranger.
I was rooting for Vancouver in that series, without a doubt.
Oh, we'll make sure to tell Mike Hartman that.
I will. I'm not afraid to tell him.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, thank you, Grumpy. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, we'll be live this next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, we go live, TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That is in the link in the description below, and that's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Enjoy. Is it Labor Day? Enjoy the Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the extended weekend, ladies and gents. Spend time with family and loved ones. We won't be here too much longer on today, but thank you again, Grumpy, and thank you, everybody who listened.